Good morning and welcome to another Sundays at Chaumont. Now this week we've been busy doing all the little nitty gritty stuff to finish the roof. We've had to finish the boarding on the side of the roof, so that's all tied in all the way round now, and it's a solid base to start putting all the little lats and the slates on. There's been a lot of like brain power going into this last week, which has made it kind of hard to kind of get the videos out because there's been a lot of planning and thought gone into it. Even though it's such a small area underneath the turret, we're just working out how we best can kind of support the whole underneath of that by adding bracing and bits of wood, which mean all areas of the guttering are supported, and more importantly, after that we can finish it in a way that looks completely slick. It's not been as easy as you might imagine. So we finally got the solution. From tomorrow we're going to work on just supporting these corners, and then when the cedar comes we'll board all the underneath. And it's just been very tedious to get that little tiny aspect of the roof, which is crazy to think how much we've done on the roof, the whole design of the structure and everything. And it comes down to these little bits which are really will really make the roof pop. So today's video is not really a specific video, it's touching on all the little areas which I think may give you guys some clarity, and kind of stepping in on the comments as well on things that seem unclear, even though I think I've gone over a lot of it. So one of the things is the size of the windows. Now when you look at it now, and when we initially looked at it, we were like, I think we messed up on this sizing. So the way we got the sizing of all the roof and all the windows is by looking at all the little details that were left around the chateau, where flashing went, and we took angles from that. And then we looked at all the old photographs and we scaled them up and looked at, okay, how big is the turret in compared to that? How many windows fit inside the turret? Stuff like that, So actually, the dimensions are about there. I think the windows are very slightly bigger, but what's really skewing it off is the old photos were taken, with a specific lens. Normally it'd be a 35mm lens, and it makes everything kind of a little bit more squished. But when you look at the availability of slate either side of the dormer and the top and bottom, it's all still about right. But I think whatever we've done, because we've shaped the dormers differently, it's just given this different proportion. So they are just about what they were, but actually I think that little change of style, and if they are a little bit bigger, on the outside edge, I think it's really helped with the turret, the whole blending the turret together, it works a lot better. So that's that. Now, at the top of the turret, we had this zinc work originally. So that created, we've actually got a picture of a guy stood up there. That created this way where you could go out of a hatch at the top of the turret. And I think it was mainly for accessibility, but it was all railed in zinc. It's not completely out of the question we could have got that remade, but it's a very, very specialist thing now. It's all done with prints and stamping the copper or zinc into this form, so they'd have to have the forms and make the forms, and it was a whole thing. So we've decided to go with this very similar style, but a oak centered banister which is going to get clad in copper. Now a lot of people have been worried a little bit about the access up there, if the spacing of all the things is to spec and stuff. And what you've got to realise is that is really going to be like an access point. It's not going to be a point that's easy to get to. You'd have to climb a ladder about 5 or 6 meters high, then you'd have to climb in the roof space, then you'd have to undo the hatch. It's not somewhere like kids are just going to be up and down and walking around, Actually, it's not really going to be a place to go up there regularly and walk around. It's going to be, if we need to get up there to deal with the lightning conductor or put points, because we've got slipped slates, we've got that up there. And it also adds this extra meter on top of the chateau, which I think is going to dramatically change it again, because it's high anyway, but just elongating that shape and having this bright shiny copper thing at the top will really change things. And on the subject of the copper, a lot of people have been asking what we're doing with the copper. Are we treating it so you can put like a lacquer on there which keeps it a copper colour. We're actually not going to do that. We're going to let the copper go green. So however shiny and nice it will be, you know, in this first year, the copper's going to green out. So it'll go through a few stages, it'll dull down, and then it'll start patinaing green. And that green will protect it as well, but it'll mean that whatever the chateau looks like now is going to look different in the future. And we've already got that in mind in terms of colour schemes. You know, yes, we're putting a lot of copper on, but with that in mind that it's going to be green eventually, that's going to change how we do things. And it's going to make it easier to manage. If we lacquered the copper, even though it would look nice for some time, that lacquer is eventually going to fade, and then you're kind of in a battle of rebuffing it up, re-lacquering it, you know, as a regular maintenance thing. Whereas this copper now, it should easily outlast the roof that it's going on. So obviously for this next bit of the roof, we've got a much bigger team working, and that's been logistically quite hard to get everyone together. So there's a slight change with the time scale, because originally we were thinking that we were going to be putting slates on the roof next week, and that's been pushed back a little bit, mainly because getting everyone together, and also the weather next week is not looking great. It's raining all week, and we don't want to start uncovering things and be slipping around there up in the rain. So it's probably about 2 weeks time, which in a way isn't bad, because it gives us a bit of time to get all them little nitty gritty stuff kind of really nailed down and sorted, and all the prep completely done for everyone arriving. So it's been pushed back a little bit, but still I'm optimistic that if we can get everyone to keep working through after we finish the turret, and we can get ahead of the roofers as well in terms of putting dormers in and stuff, I think we could be looking at mid-summer. The whole thing is completely roofed, which, like, what a big deal that is, you know, what a big deal in the project that is. When we were thinking it was going to be me, Nick and Brian, we were like, we're going to struggle to get it done this year. And really we needed to get it done this year, because we can't let that roof have another winter of weather on it. So if it can be finished for summer or soon after, that's going to be amazing. And on that subject about dormers, with getting the roof dormers in, it's prompted another decision which may have been controversial at the start, which is the dormers in these sides. Now from the start I was kind of thinking, you know, there were so many windows in that roof space. There was like 5 windows in each side and some on the back as well. And I was like, I just don't think with that amount of openings we're going to be able to get that insulation value in there, because all throughout the chateau it's like 70% windows. There's no real room for the insulation on the walls. We're going to have to put, you know, less than we really wanted to. So I was like, well, there's our opportunity, you know, to get it in the roof space. But see, since that dormer went in and how much it changed the whole building and how it looks like there was a whole other floor in the chateau, you know, I think we've got to put as many back in as we can, and that will again change the facade and it'll change the rooms underneath. Yes, it'll mean we can't get as much insulation as we wanted to in there, but I think we've got to go for it. So originally I was thinking we just put one in this side and one in the facade below, but I think we've got to put them all the way around. So we're going to put all the dormers that were there back in, other than the very back face, which we realised had been taken out somewhere in the 70s or 80s. And actually, I think that makes this space work well in there, because if we try slide the dormers in there in the back facade now, either side of the arch, we're really going to struggle to make them work with the way we've framed it. And I don't think it's really going to add much. There's tons and tons of light in there, and we could always add like a Velux or something to take more light in. So that means that because we're putting a lot more dormers in, we've got to get ahead of the roofing team. There's a lot of prep to get them dormers in. Ultimately, the turret was kind of easy because we knew we were putting windows in there. We knew what size they were. We framed them out, so we just had to cut the last little bit in and pop them in. Whereas these ones, we haven't really made a full allowance in the frame. We knew windows were ish going in there, but really we've got to jigger that frame around and make the openings and then make the dormers and then mount them. So there's a lot of time in that, but I think it's going to make it worth it. So we're going to battle ahead and do that, order some more oak, get them dormers made, and hopefully get just ahead of the roofing team, so as they come round the chateau, all the openings are there and they can just crack on with their slating, you know. Obviously they'll be clad in copper as well, so that's a bit of a time issue in there, but I think it's going to be worth it. And the dormers on these sides will be an exact mirror image of what's below. So the dormer going on this roof will be the same width and size as this window, and it'd be mirrored exactly above. Same with the dormers here, they'll be exactly above these windows. And which, like I say, will change the chateau, because all of a sudden you've gone from, okay, the chateau stops there and then it's a roof space, to okay, the chateau just carries on. There's another level there, there's another level there, and because the windows are so big, it won't look like a roof space, it'll look like another usable space. With all that said and done, in about 2 weeks' time, everyone's going to get on site. We'll have a good walk round, we'll make sure everyone's got the plan like exactly right in their head. All the little details, obviously I'll be there at every single stage, making sure things are turning out really as we want them. Everyone's got more than enough experience, but you know, I've got stuff just floating around in my head for months and months and months. So I've got a very clear plan of how we're detailing certain bits, you know, so I'll just make sure that's executed to the best we all can do it. And just seeing this come together is going to be amazing. There's a load of decisions to make on the run up and during, but it's all going to come together to create this amazingly finished roof space, better actually than it was originally. So there's going to be a lot of roof content for the next few months, but that's going to be broken up hopefully between the roofing team just cracking on with the roof and putting slates on, and us being able to do like the dormer openings and stuff like that and get all that different prep. We've got to tie back that arch, like it's a matter of urgency because it's not going anywhere. But if people are clambering on the roof, we don't want things to be moving about. So there's a lot of logistics to still work out and solutions for problem. And there is just one final thing I wanted to say, and that's over the last week, we've all been sat out the back having a coffee. Me and Nick have been talking about just how far we've come, and we started to look back at some of the old videos just to see what it was like and see what our ideas were like back then. So I'm going to set us all a challenge, me and you. I'm going to start watching the playlist for the chateau from the very start, because even I haven't really looked back in a long time, you know, video by video, and I want to see your comments come up as I'm watching them, as you're watching them as a refresh, or maybe some of you haven't seen it from the start. Start at the beginning of the playlist, watch the videos up until now, and I think it'll give us all that sense again of where we've come from and just exactly how fast this place is getting done and where we're heading. Hope I can count on you to do that, and I look forward to seeing your comments come up in the older videos. See you tomorrow.